Hi everyone, it's Julie from Sprouts and Stems here. Today's video is going to be me dealing with that thing because it desperately needs to be repotted, and I have a feeling it might not be super straightforward because it's like really on that moss pole. It's all like intertwined and connected by aerial roots in some parts, so I think this is going to be a bit of a chore. And before we get started, as usual, I'd like to remind you, if you'd like, to please subscribe to my channel, and please check out the link to my Patreon in the description for exclusive perks and another way to support my channel. Okay, now we can get started tackling Mr. Philodendron Micans back there. It's very wobbly. Yeah, this is it. It's definitely really happy, but it's just getting way too big and needs a better living situation. Gorgeous. So I was noticing when I was doing some plant chores and watering today that I have a lot of repotting to do. It's kind of like that weird time where like a lot of your plants need to be repotted at once because it just worked out that way, as opposed to like one or two at a time. But this one is definitely the one I've been putting off the most. This I got a few years ago as cuttings, and the cuttings grew really well. I got it from a planty friend, some of her cuttings, and then I propagated them and stuck some back in the pot, and it just within the past year literally exploded with growth. Can you see all these awesome aerial roots? I've never had a plant that put out so many aerial roots this size. Crazy. I'll give you a better shot at some point in this video. Now I just want to get this off, and I'm not going to put this back on a moss pole. I have an idea for a little, well, it might be a big undertaking, but a planty undertaking for a new setup. So I'm going to put this in a hanging basket and leave the vines down for now. And that video, I'm gonna do a video of me doing like the setup. It might be next week, or I might get really overwhelmed and do it a few weeks from now, depending on how long it takes me. But stay tuned. I will be posting about it unless it turns out to be like a super fail, but I don't think it will. These bendable moss poles, by the way, worked out really well. Even though they're like a little bit wobbly, just because like that's the nature of the bendableness. Overall, they were pretty sturdy, and my plant happily attached itself to them. So yeah, I would definitely use these again for another plant. Have you guys ever tried a bendable moss pole, or do you stick to straight traditional moss poles? Okay, hi. Update on the situation. So what I've done is I've pretty much for the most part untangled them all from the top. But then since getting towards the bottom, they're all kind of like woven amongst the two poles, because that's how I initially put it on, and then like it grew. Untangled from the top, snipped off all the twine pieces that I know of, I'm pretty sure, like all the little pieces of twine that I use to tie this bottom part to the pole. And instead of going through the time of like untangling it all, I think I'm just going to try to slip the moss pole out and kind of like shake the vines off. We'll see. Okay, let's do it. That didn't sound very hopeful. Let's do it. Woohoo. Do this one first. Is anybody stuck? Oh, I forgot these had green stakes. Not that it matters, but just kind of wasn't expecting that. Okay, cool. That one was relatively easy. Now, this one I'm not so sure. Okay, this is what we have. It looks pretty sad, but those vines are really nice and healthy and happy. So I just need to untangle it and then we'll get to repotting. I will be right back. Okay, that was about like 10 minutes, but 10 minutes of deep concentration to try to lose as little leaves as possible. So before I get to repotting, I just want to give you guys a better look at everything that's going on here. So once I repot this in there, and that is a hanging basket, the hanger is just not currently on it, but it goes right there. Once I repot it in there, I'm not going to hang it up just yet because I have a plan for what I want to do with the vines, and the plan doesn't involve the vines hanging down. They'll still be like growing upward in some way. So since this plant was so used to being on a moss pole for so long and growing up, I don't want to just immediately hang it and let the vines kind of flop over in a heavy way like they're doing right now. So until I get to actually set up that project that I'm giving you minimal details on until I have it all worked out, I'm going to keep it somewhere where the vines can just kind of lay flat instead of hanging down and being super heavy on the plant. So enough of me rambling for now. Just want to give you a cool shot of all these awesome aerial roots. There, put it where we can actually look at that. There's lots of them. It's like, I swear, maybe like a month or 2 months ago, I noticed one huge one. And then a few weeks later, literally, they were all like this. Look at that. Super cool. Yeah, so there's a bunch of them. I love the Micans. It's like a deep velvet green. It definitely, I think this table is making things look a little bit more yellow, but it's a beautiful deep green color. I noticed one thing that I thought was pretty cool. This vine actually looped itself around. It started here. It looped itself around, and it must have just done this by itself. because I don't remember like doing this intentionally, but I think it kind of planted itself down there. I think this leaf is maybe from a node that like planted itself. And then either this one is another vine or the same vine continued to grow. I'm not sure, but we definitely have a loop going on. There. Fun stuff. Okay, so I've got this set up and ready to go. It's, let's see, yeah, it's about one size bigger, 1 to 2 sizes larger than this, which is good. Kind of pushing from the bottom from the drainage hole to kind of wiggle it out. Okay. Before we finish up here, I just wanted to show you something that I'm doing. So a lot of the times our plants might grow leggy towards the end of the vine, and then you can leave it, or if you want, you can snip off the end and give it another chance to regrow in a less leggy fashion. But sometimes plants get kind of leggy or just thin, either in the middle of the vine or like just starting out. Like this one, there's a few of these on this plant, but this one is a good example. See how kind of like spindly it is? Then towards the end, it's got these huge, beautiful leaves. So I don't want to cut this vine because it's beautiful and perfectly good. So what I'm doing in a few places here is using a bobby pin. Shout out to all my friends who had me in their weddings because I have a billion of these bobby pins from getting my hair done. So thank you. And you can just kind of like nestle it in to the soil in however way you want. I might have it loop back over here. And I'm not exactly sure where I want this to end up just yet, but for the purpose of the video, I'm just gonna stick it in right here. See, I kind of looped it over the top and bobby pin it down, and there. That way it kind of shortens the leggy part by gathering it onto the top of the plant. And what might happen, it's not guaranteed, but what might happen is the nodes might root down into the soil, just like that one that I showed you earlier did. And even if that doesn't happen, your plant will still grow perfectly fine with just the leggy part pinned down into the soil. You don't want to pin it like too tightly, but it's just a way to kind of like shorten the vine. And it also makes your plant look a lot more full on top. So that's a really easy thing you can do. This has definitely been a workout. I'm exhausted, and I think my Philodendron Micans is too. I think it definitely needs a break from me finagling and rattling it around. It's probably going to be in a little bit of shock for a few days, but I'm going to go put this in the final place for now that I'm going to keep it in while its vines are still like this, and then I'll give you guys a nice final shot of everything. Here it is, hanging. Looks all nice and full on top from, I think I put about 4 or 5 bobby pins in there. Okay, I know this looks really weird, but this is what we're doing for now. So that's going to be it for today. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Check out my Patreon if you feel like it. And I'll see you next week. Bye.